Hello and welcome. This is Highly Articulated. I am Adam. It is my pleasure to have the guests on that I have today. We are going to chat a little bit about Black Friday. I think all three of us sort of had different experiences and sort of, with different sort of levels of interest, different levels of regret as well. So without further ado, let me introduce my guests today. I've got Brick Something and Austin. What's going on, guys? Brick
Hello,
Something.
everybody.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here and I'm ready to talk about Black Friday.
And Austin, spoiler alert, I think you're gonna get the King of Regret today.
Yeah. I won't even say how much I spent, but yeah.
As we very often do, and I apologize. I Brick Something. I didn't mention this to you. Should I call you Brick Something, or do you want me to call you by your name?
Brick's perfect. Yeah, Brick's perfect.
Brick. Okay.
Yeah.
Brick. I should have asked that beforehand instead of while we were on. We like to start with pickups. Austin, I know you grabbed a couple things this last little bit since we've chatted last. What have you picked up?
Well, I'll show you the thing I just grabbed literally an hour ago. I was in Winners, and I'm sure all the Canadians are familiar with Winners and HomeSense, but it's basically for Brick here. It's basically, I don't know if you guys have like Marshalls and stuff over there. So yeah,
Marshalls is TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx, yeah. So clothing, furniture, and they have a random toy section of a lot of random clearance items. So the thing I grabbed today,
nice,
was the Motu Origins Deluxe Skeletor. I actually already own the previous Deluxe Skeletor, but I saw this purple pink armor. I went, oh, gotta buy $8
for $8. I mean,
easy buy. $8 Canadian Brick, so it's like probably like $5.50 American,
if that.
Yeah, so we don't find those in my Ross. I haven't seen Masters of the Universe yet hit my Ross, so something's going well up there.
Well, it's the same as anywhere, right? Like it's so hit or miss. Like mine never seems to have anything either. It's like the truck gets unloaded in Vancouver, which is like the port city, and then they're like, I don't know, send them like the weird off-brand Lego and send them books. Like mine always has lots of books, which is great. I mean, my kids like books, but I don't ever find anything I want. Anything else, Austin?
Yeah, this one, I'm so excited for this one. Big shout out for Shang for sending this out and hooking up everyone in Knights of the North.
Yeah.
Furious 4, and wasn't able to get 4. I was only able to get 2, but that is okay.
That's a great pickup.
Just looking at, it looks incredible. I know how we're kind of like, red and black, but I mean, I don't know. I think there's enough red on there where it's more than just an accent color.
Those look, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, those are pretty nice. It is me leading the anti red and black brigade. But like I said, that's largely due to I sell bicycles, and there's so many red and black bikes that I just can't stand them anymore, and I just have this like hate on for red and black deco. It just seems so easy to me when they can do so much more. But like I said to you before, Austin, about that set, the way they use the red and black is actually really, really nice. So
Really
I you know, when you do it right, it can be great. But when it's kind of a cop out, I don't love it. But anything else?
Yeah, I got one last package, came all the way from Spain from a caballer. He goes by, I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Zemo Dolls.
Okay.
Ximo. So Zymo.
I think so.
Real
Yeah.
quick, arrived in 2 weeks. So I got myself some, other way, some custom here. Kind of Batman Who Laughs type skeleton.
Who laughs? Jeez.
Really cool World of Warcraft-esque Warcraft head.
Those are hot.
Got some cool shoulder pads, which will likely go with the orb.
Oh, yeah. There
we go. That's a good look at them right there. Those look incredible.
Curious, what kind of material is that? Is it like the softer kind of thing, or?
Oh, it's quite hard.
It is. Okay. Cool.
Resin.
Yeah.
So it's
very cool.
I'm guessing it's resin. But to my surprise, that was all I ordered from him, but he threw in extras.
Nice.
So I'll show off this one first.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, look, the eyes are red. I'm like, that would be great on the Furious 4.
Mm-hmm. But you've already got extra heads with that set.
I know, right? But I mean, I can always swap it around. And then just a generic skeleton head here. That's really
good though. That's
really well painted. Like I love the yellow teeth.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But yeah, again, from Spain took 2 weeks, which I was blown away, especially plus getting delivered on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Not bad. Anything else?
Oh, I'm sure there's more, but that's on hand.
Brick,
any pickups? Anything cool?
Anything cool that's the question.
Well,
no, I'm kidding.
Isn't it?
So I've kind of been sitting on unopened boxes, and I've started opening things this week. So or getting caught up, and randomly there was a sale on some of these things that I've been wanting to mess with. So these are maybe not as cool right now, but maybe will be cool.
Yeah.
Super cheap on some of these things, and I may or may not have relatives with Disney discounts that make it even cheaper.
Oh wow. Nice.
But I'm thinking of like a gigantic horde trooper kind of thing for that. And then to keep on the Lightyear motif here. So I think it was David Williams did something with this, and I'm totally just straight copying, with a Mythic Legion's head and just kind of messing with it. So I got a couple of the other ones because again, this was Black Friday before Black Friday, I guess. So they were just cleansing these things out, and not necessarily going to end up with these heads, but I kind of just wanted to proof of concept kind of a thing, and just kind of playing with them. Very, kind of getting ready for Cosmic, I guess. And
that looks good.
Just kind of messing around.
That's fun.
Cool little weapons, need some maybe some dry brushing to kind of catch it up to the aesthetic of the Four Horsemen. And last one, Goblin guy, I haven't put tack on there or anything, but so there's that.
That 6-inch line, that Lightyear 6-inch line is like it's like a treasure trove for customizers because it's relatively affordable. It's relatively easy to find. I've seen a lot of the sort of fighter starship thing get converted to like different lines. A lot of guys were doing like G.I. Joe conversion custom. They look really, really good.
They were each like less than I find them at Winters, I guess. So altogether it was a good deal. And then I finally got a piece to put this guy together. Just I've been sitting on these pieces, and
awesome.
Don't want to spoil anything, but came back in my brain.
Good timing, exactly.
Recently, so I love the big creatures. They're just and I love scale on my shelf, a variety scale. So
it's, having him sort of mixed in with the standard 6-inch scale stuff for sure. And that's a great crossover for the Mythic Legion stuff too. That's a Marvel Legends piece, but he fits in great with a forest troll or some orcs or what have you.
That's kind of how I roll. And then I've got this really random. not a wrestling guy, but recently got a figure, and I was like, oh, these are kind of curious. And I saw this guy, and you know, I really just my thing is really looking for like characters of color, trying to mix them on the shelf. And this guy's got some really cool kind of
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
tattoo work that I can kind of put like a cool fur, custom
Yeah,
fur or cape on this guy. And you know, he goes from and I don't know if you notice his hand. I was like, hey.
that's familiar.
So I was like, right on, let's do it. So
I'm a
that was
big
it.
guy, so as soon as I saw that figure, I got a little excited. Farouk, APA, the Acolyte,
Yeah.
big fan.
Scalevator, just dipping into the comments here. Scalevator says, "Brick, that big one will make an amazing Horde Trooper."
That's what I'm thinking too.
Larry says, "Hey all, what's going on, Larry?" So not a pickup this week, but a box that I sort of pulled down that I bought a while ago. And I don't have the box because the box is gigantic, but I got the Lego, this Lego set.
Yeah.
This the most recent version, I believe, of the AT-AT Walker. And I was mentioning to Brick before we started that every year around this time I pull out my bin full of Hoth Star Wars Lego and set up my Christmas display in the living room this year. I got the green light to do it in the living room this year, so it doesn't have to get set up in my office. And so it's Star Wars Hoth Lego with the addition of like a bunch of the like advent calendar pieces. So there's like a snowman and a Santa, and a, you know, there's like Christmas Easter eggs, if you will, in Hoth, which is how it kind of sneaks by as Christmas passable. The other thing that I got this week is two more of the Super 7 Ultimates TMNT line. I got Krang, which for all his issues in the sort of little robot figs articulation, this is phenomenal. He's so much fun. He looks amazing. The sculpt is great. Little articulated arms.
That's great.
Once you pose them up, if you kind of get them standing and get them static, you can set them up to look pretty cool. So I'm really excited about that. And along with that, I also got my favorite Ninja Turtle, which is Donatello. Again, fantastic figure. I love this line. I just got into it recently, really late. A few waves in, which is great. I actually my guy and yours, Austin, Mike at eCollectibles, I basically just sent him a list. I said, okay, here's 12 that you've got in stock. Can you just set them aside for me and sort of send one or two blind bag style with every package that I get shipped? And he's like, sure, man, why not? So I get the added bonus of like getting a package that I know what's coming, plus like a surprise Ninja Turtles Ultimate in it, which is like
Christmas.
It's like every time, right? So it's not, I'm not just tracking a package when I know what it is, and I'm gonna bring it in my office and sort of put it in the corner for a few days. They show up and I'm like, oh, what is it? So it just adds some of that fun, right? Like I think sometimes because we pre-order so much stuff and because so much stuff gets shipped to us, there's a little less of the sort of joy of like that we really loved about like hunting in the wild and stuff, right? There's some stuff I'll still hunt in the wild. There's some figures that I won't pre-order just because I don't like, if I don't need it and I don't need a guarantee that I'm going to get it, or I think it's going to be a pretty easy release to get, sometimes I'll just wait and just sort of wait it out and sort of follow the groups and sort of say, oh, where is it going to be? When is it going to show up? Who's seen it? Whereabouts did you find it in the store? All that kind of fun stuff. Because I mean, if you're just paying for pre-orders 6 months or a year or 2 years out, and then they just sort of show up, some of the shine is kind of gone by the time I think so.
Me and Mahler always call it the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun, right? And I mean the winners or the TJ Maxx or the whatever, going to those stores is kind of fun because you really don't know what
Yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
have. And so there is, I say this all the time, there really is nothing better than finding something in the wild, because it's just a different feeling actually finding it on a shelf
Yeah.
than it is, tracking it. You get a ship notification from wherever it's coming from,
Yeah.
and you spend the next few days kind of going, okay, yeah, it went from there to there, okay, yeah, there to there, and it arrives completely expectedly. So it's not quite as fun. But the big topic of the day is in some way, I guess, related to that, because we're going to talk about Black Friday. Is it something that we like? Is it something that we partake in? Is it just the worst? And is it does it is it predatory in some way for some of us? We will find out. First things first, we will start with you, Brick. What's some of the cool stuff that you saw for Black Friday?
Oh, I mean, so I'm on a couple of different toy discords, and people are just dropping all the information. But I was also sort of on vacation with a family in New York, so wasn't paying attention. And then these things would pop up, and you definitely get that vibe of like, oh my god, I need to buy something. Like I'm missing out. And luckily, actually, I feel like the saving grace is there were a ton of great things, great deals, but truthfully, they're things that I probably wouldn't normally buy
Mm-hmm.
and spend on. But then there's that feeling of, oh, well, it's such a good deal.
Yeah.
I have to have this, right? And so luckily I was busy and occupied and kind of getting on things late. And there were a couple things I was like, okay, well, let me just check this real quick on the subway. And oh, it was sold out. I missed it. At the end of the day, I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Actually, I didn't really want that, but there was that vibe. But that said, I mean, we're toy collectors, right? So part of this game is, I mean, you kind of described it. There's that weird rush that we get that sometimes we kind of thrive on.
Yeah.
So just some of the things that stood out. I mean, there was a plunderling on Big Bad Toy Store. That's one of those things where it's like, I've got the one because I really want to check it out.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't fully fit in sort of the aesthetic of my weirdo science fantasy, mainly Mythic Legion Masterverse shelf. But one is kind of cool, right? You kind of maybe, and then all of a sudden I'm looking, wait, but it's so cheap.
Yeah.
There's a second one. Anyways, I talked myself off the ledge.
I thought I ordered one of those, and then I went back and I hadn't, and I was like, that's probably for the best.
It's a good deal. I mean, there were things like that, but then there were some of the bigger items that kind of blew me away. So that we were talking about it earlier, that Playmobil Star Trek Enterprise,
yeah,
which I remember seeing, and it was like there's that part of me, that nostalgic part of me, is like, man, that would be such a great sort of centerpiece display kind of thing. And it's kind of this cool middle ground of kind of like, ooh, it's Star Trek, it's so sleek and awesome, grown up concepts, with like Playmobil, right? And sort of it's kind of like the Lego thing. So I was like, I kind of like that.
Zero sculpt whatsoever. Every figure looks exactly the same.
But that thing was like, I think $400 or $500, and went for like either 170, 180. So, that was definitely one where if I was fast enough, I probably would have ended up getting it, but I didn't. Aside from that, like, I just want to shout out a lot of the sort of smaller businesses, and that, with the Mythic Legions thing, a lot of awesome customizers had some really good deals.
Yep.
And so there was sort of that, and they're not necessarily only Friday. So I'm kind of looking at eyeing a couple of those things and trying to figure out, what bits and pieces I want to add, but nothing specific. So
yeah.
I try to stay, again, like I said, I'm happy I was busy, because I think ultimately it saved me. And we know January 15th is this sort of big date for that Mythic Legions Necronominus wave. So
yeah,
I don't have a choice. I got to really kind of, stay the course. If I'm actually going to go in on some of those pieces, then I'm glad that I kind of missed out on Black Friday.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You make a very valid point. Is that, like, again, as collectors, and we'll kind of we'll come back around to this.
Sure.
but as collectors, yeah, there's always something on the horizon.
Yeah.
And so there's an aspect of Black Friday that for collectors specifically is a bit problematic. Austin, did you see anything? Did you order anything?
Did I order anything? I think it's really just order everything.
I was gonna say, is there anything you didn't order?
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you the one thing I missed out on. I was actually really bummed about it. I couldn't even tell you the name of the website. It was a random post that the Dork Lair made on Instagram, and it was the MDLX 30 Optimus Prime, which is the
Okay.
6-inch one, and that's actually been on my hit list for a while.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The company that he shared, it was for $28 American.
Yeah.
So I saw that, I went, oh my God, he posted it an hour ago. Hopefully it's still there. It's gone.
Yeah.
But
It
again,
was probably gone in 5 minutes. I mean,
probably. And again, I've never even heard this website before. I don't know if they ship to Canada. I don't know what the shipping cost would even be. I figured even if the shipping was absurd for $28 American, it was still probably worth getting, but missed
right.
out. Not going to lose sleep over it, especially considering all the other stuff I did get.
Was that before or after you had made sort of the majority of your purchases already?
I was kind of in the middle.
Okay, so it was just the whole day.
It was a whole day. Well, the problem is with Black Friday now, there's a lot of places that do the build up to Black Friday and they make it the whole weekend. And when they got Cyber Monday, and which is also part of the weekend. So it's really not just one day of chaos, it's just a whole week. So I ordered a number of things from Canadian retailers. Lots of it was stuff I had intended on getting at some point. So now it was just cheaper price, seal the deal.
Right.
There was a few things I mentioned to you, Adam. You didn't even know what the hell I was talking about, but I bought the Transformers Later Class Grindor. I don't have any of the movie figures, or at least none of the new Hasbro movie figures.
Yeah, right.
But I loved, I saw those movies in theaters, and Grindor / Blackout was one of my favorites. I went, yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You
can't, right? You can't. I mean, at the prices,
it wasn't even that cheap. It wasn't that much less. So that's the killer.
Don't worry, I'll get to that when it.
Yeah, it was like normally 75. It was on for 50. So like that's good savings, but still $50 for a figure I wasn't going to buy. So
right.
Precisely.
But the big one was, at least to me, the big one was Bandai had a huge sale. And they don't ship to Canada. But I have
P Bandai. You mean like their online website?
No, it was the Bandai Namco stores, which I think was normally the Bluefin store. But either way, they don't ship to Canada. But I plenty of connections in the States. I just messaged my buddy Nico, and I just said, I need you right now. And he knew exactly what happened. And so I got more Storm collectibles because, again, it was just crazy good prices. It wasn't like, $10 here, $20 here. It was like 75% off some of this stuff.
Wow.
It was nuts.
Okay.
So I got some Storm collectibles. There's these anime style Transformer model kits. I think they're called Fury or Fury or something. I got a few of those because I've been looking at those for the past year and just kind of went, they're really expensive for model kits, but again, 50% off. I said, do it. So I got Acid Storm, Leo Prime, some really cool niche characters there. And beyond that, got Nin Game in Japan had a Black Friday sale. I got stuff from them. I'm ashamed of myself right now. I will say I got gifts for people though, so I wasn't just thinking about me.
Well, that's a bonus. That was, I mean, I did that. There was a couple Black Friday sales where I definitely, those things that I knew that I wanted to pick up for other people gifts that I did get. The only thing that I picked up or that I ordered. I guess I don't have it. So and I've never ordered from them before, so I don't really know what the process is. And it so it's weird because like I don't know I was just like lucky and I was like, oh, whatever, I'll check it out. NECA released or sort of re-released some stuff. And I just got the NECA cartoon turtles. And so they re-released the Bebop and Rocksteady 2-pack, and I was like, I'll pick that up because why not? I got the turtles. I may as well get a couple of the baddies. And then they released the Secret of the Ooze 2-packs, so I got the 4 movie turtles. There was the big thing was everybody wanted the Secret of the Ooze shredder. I didn't. But it's always funny because like I'd known for a couple days that at 8 a.m. West Coast is gonna go live, so I made sure that I had set my account up and I made sure that everything was settled in and good to go. And at 7:59 I was in front of the computer, and at 8 I hit the refresh button, and they kind of popped up like one at a time, like it wasn't like the whole website updated. So it was actually really easy. And the weird thing is like some of the Ninja Turtle groups are like, it was so frustrating, everything was sold out in like 5 minutes, and I'm just like, I just hit the refresh. I refreshed, one of the 2-packs of the turtles came up, added that to cart. The next one came up, added that to cart. The Bebop and Rocksteady came up, added that to cart. Check out, sip my coffee, I'm done, I'm in, I'm out, it's good to go. And like didn't think anything of it. And then a couple hours later, checked into Facebook, and everybody's just like, what's NECA trying to do? NECA hates us. NECA doesn't like their fans and blah, blah. And I'm just like, what did I do correctly? Like everybody knew it was 8 a.m. Like people are like, sold out already. And I'm like, it took me 2 minutes to check out. So what were you doing, in that time that you didn't get it? I always think it's funny. I'm sympathetic for people if they've been sort of like trying to get these things for a long time, and here I am come in just like casually picking these things up.
Yoink.
Yeah, exactly. But it was so easy that I was just like, I just assumed that was like how it was, right? Like it's funny that way. Mythic Legions has been sort of like that. I've picked up a couple of things from Mythic Legions too in sales when they post them. And it comes up and I refresh and there they are, and I add them to the cart and I check out, and then everybody loses their mind because they got there 3 minutes late and it's sold out, and I'm just like, yeah, but you knew when it was going up. I don't know what the confusion is, but
it's such a crapshoot. It really is. I mean,
is.
with the tech and the way things are. I remember we were in the middle of lockdown, and they did they didn't have Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. And so they were doing the Massiver Scareglow exclusive.
Right. Yeah.
Hopped on. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Let me check it out. Hopped on within 2 minutes. Got it. Got one for myself, one for my cousin. Done. That was my first experience. I was like, oh, that was easy. It's much easier than having been at San Diego Comic-Con in the past. Like that was awesome. Can we just keep doing that?
Yeah.
And then fast forward to this summer with the Wondar, and that was like the most weirdly traumatic day of oh my God, it's not working. It's not working. Oh no, it's back up. So we got on. I got mine, went through. Okay, cool. That was pretty painless. A couple hours later, cancel. So it was just, who knows? It's going back to this notion of hunting versus being online. The game it's really different, right? It's really different. But
it's funny that you mentioned that Wondar, because I am not a Motu guy. I a couple weeks back, I picked up now I'm drawing a blank. I picked up Battle Cat, like just the Origins Battle Cat, because it was like $5, and I was like, well, I'll grab this. I don't have the Origins He-Man. I don't have anybody to put on Battle Cat. And now I'm like, okay, do I need a He-Man, or do I just need to get rid of this Battle Cat? I don't even know. I'm just in this weird limbo. It was $5. What can I do? I had to buy it. But just because of other people that I know, other people that I other channels that I follow, Geek Dad Life loves the Motu stuff. Yeah. Retro J loves Motu stuff. And so I tend to watch their videos for Motu stuff because it's very digestible entertainment for me, because I don't have a vested interest in it. So when that whole Wondar thing kicked off, I was like, huh, so this is like not just in the lines that I love. This happens to other people
Oh
as
yeah.
well, and sometimes worse. Like, oh, you got your order in, great. Oh, but then you got an email that said you didn't get your order in, or it got canceled or whatever. And people are like, this
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. It's a pre-order. It's
Yep.
not like, can't they just make more? Like, if they had a limit, how could you order it and then get a cancellation after the fact? Like, it doesn't.
Right. It
But
didn't make sense.
but then they released it like months later, didn't they? Like now you could. They did like
Yeah, in September. They're like, oh, you get another chance.
and
But
people
it's
are like,
again, it goes back to
"Wow."
how the game has changed, because like we were talking
Mhm.
about Black Friday and sort of the hunt. It's sort of like earlier we were saying, well, yeah, there's these deals that we can get, but for the most part, when things come out and you pre-order, you buy them, like if I can swing it, obviously, respect to folks who are like, they're on a tight budget and they're saving. But generally it's like, well, I really want this piece. I'll order it then, and then I'll just sit and do the waiting game. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
And so by the time something like a Black Friday comes up, it's kind of like, well, kind of gotten my things. But yeah, I don't know how I ended up on that tangent. Oh, I think it was with the $1.
hmm
Yeah, I don't know. Then that was just one of those deals where it was just, that was an especially strange day, because speaking of Geek Dad Life, they were live streaming it. We were all, I was actually visiting in-laws, and so we were about to head onto a plane. So I'm sitting here in the airport. Other people are online. There's a Discord going, I got it. I didn't get it. Wait, what?
hmm
And so that's actually how I ended up finding about the cancellations. Because then all of a sudden, now I'm in Florida. I'm getting these messages. Hey, I got a cancellation. So it was like
right.
this day-long traumatic collective experience that
Yeah,
just probably made it worse than it actually was. At the end of the day, you're right. It happens a lot.
yeah.
But yeah,
But that's, I think it's one of those things where those are, depending on how you are able to process that as a
yeah,
collector, those are things that I think personally you can kind of have two reactions. You're talking about, the Discord where people are sort of reaching out like, hey, did you get it?
right.
Or maybe, oh, hey, I got two, yours got canceled,
Yep,
you
there's
have
all
my
of that.
spare one. So
Mhm.
there's certainly an aspect of those tragedies that sort of can bring collectors together, right? The communities can grow as a result
Yeah,
of that sometimes.
yeah.
But then you also get, on the other end of the spectrum, you also get the people that, the and it's
Mattel
the same
hates me.
guys all the time that just go off the deep end, and they're just like, Mattel is the worst, NECA is the worst, Hasbro is the worst, like insert brand here. Oh, they don't care, that on and on and on, right? Like, and
Yeah,
there, it's just, it sort of foments that sense of um like strange entitlement for items that we don't need. These are want-based items that we're losing our minds because we can't get a toy,
yeah,
and we're
100%.
middle-aged men fighting over this stuff effectively.
That's
Um,
the power of the emotional thing, right? Like
mhm.
collecting is such an emotional game, and right when you love something, it can easily quickly turn to anger and lead to suffering and hate and all that stuff. But it's
Right.
just, yeah, yeah. I mean, if we try to think a little too logically, like you were starting to go down and lay it out, like, oh, we're grown men, like these are toys, then yes, after a while, you're kind of like, oh, that was awkward. But
But that,
ultimately, it's because we love this stuff so much and
yeah,
we're passionate about it, and they know that, right? And to bring us back to Black Friday, because they know that,
yeah,
they work on us.
absolutely. And that was going to be sort of the next point. The next
Yeah,
question is,
yeah,
Black Friday typically is for it's kind of it's much more an American thing. Like, we do it up here in Canada, but like our Thanksgiving was like in July, so it doesn't really fall on any sort of holiday for us. Um, it's not in July, but
I was about to say,
was
wait,
it
I
was
think you're wrong.
it was a while ago. It was a while ago. But it's just,
spreading
for
holiday
most people,
misinformation.
yeah. Well, for most people, it's just Friday, but lots of retailers do Black Friday sales. But my question to you guys is this: is Black Friday a toy collector's like worst nightmare? Because we're ordering stuff. We're like, I think more than most people, we're consuming all year, right? Like when there's a new wave of figures, when there's a new whatever, we're ordering. Brick, you mentioned that the Necronominus wave from Mythic Legions is available for pre-order now from Four Horsemen. It will be available from Mike at eCollectibles in January once the window closes for Four Horsemen. But is it the worst day of the year for collectors? And before I let you guys answer that, I'm just going to check in with the comments here.
The worst day.
Maybe not the worst. Maybe that's a bit of hyperbole.
Sure, no, I'm thinking,
whereas a GamerBud said he is my favorite turtle. He mentioned that when I mentioned Donatello. So to a fellow Donatello fan. Larry said, I already got my con schedule for next year. So talking about the con exclusives and stuff like that. Aaron at AI Collectibles, who has a great show, you should check his channel out as well. Said, well put, Brick something. He also mentioned Mezco dropped the third Pink Skull set, and I bit. And a lot of people did. And that's a big ticket item.
On that one in particular, I just want to say, like, that's where I think that kind of deal is a great one to sort of see on a Black Friday, right? Because I think it gives people the chance who maybe missed it to get this new thing. But there's also a little bit of new pieces to it that if you're like really hardcore and you want to get in. So, I appreciate that kind of thing. And I get it.
Yeah, at first when they released it, I was a little annoyed just because like I got the previous set, and you look at this thing and go, oh, if I waited, I wish I knew I would have just waited because this one comes with more. But on the flip side, I can't remember the price of the previous set, but I think this one, to accommodate the few extra things, was more expensive. Not by much. I think it might have been like $25, maybe $30 more expensive. And I'm looking at the extra stuff it came with and go, okay, well, that'd have been worth the wait and spending an extra $30 American. I went, no, I'm happy with the one I got and when I got it. So yeah. But when you get the other people who will just flip no matter what, just throw logic out the window. I can't believe they released another set. I wish they told me. I would have waited.
Right.
But that's, I mean, every brand does that, don't they? I mean, there's always a new version, an updated version. There's a new Lego X-Wing every year or two. Yeah. There's a new updated Spider-Man if you're a Legends guy.
Again, Adam, you're bringing logic into a game.
That's my biggest fault.
I'm right there with you. No, I know.
I look at Black Friday and I'm like, okay, so here's all these figures that I've been passing on for months and months and months that have been available. Do I want them now? And this is sort of this is where sort of the I guess the crux of the question really is. As a collector, do we buy? Do we have specific rules? Like I said, like when a figure comes out, I go, okay, I either want it for the price that it's at or I don't. And then it's sort of like if I passed on it, my rule generally is if I passed on it, I'm done with it, even if it's 10% off, 20% off. Now, if something's $5 that was like $30, yeah, maybe I'll bite. But for the most part, it's sort of like if I didn't want it, then why do I want it now? Because it's cheap, or because I look, we're all in the same boat. We don't have enough space. We all run out of space. So adding that stuff to me is an addiction. Austin, your thoughts?
Well, see, I've developed the mentality of I plan for Black Friday. Black Friday doesn't sneak up on me. Like, I don't go, oh, right, it's Black Friday, I'm going to go check sales. It's like, no, I'm going to pass on this thing for now because I don't think it's going to sell out. I'll see what Black Friday is like in a month or two. So a lot of them, I do that a lot of Black Series. It's sure. Like you got your Luke Skywalkers and your Anakins, like your main characters. You're like, okay, this is brand new. I'm going to get it the day it comes out. But since I'm super into toy photography, a lot of the characters I get are just kind of background characters.
Sure.
So I don't want to spend full price on them. I cannot tell you the names for the life of me, but the episode 4, he doesn't like you. I don't like you either. Those
Water.
two characters came out in Black Series.
Oh no, sorry, Evazon.
There you go. And for me, they weren't must-haves, but I think for like if I do a Tatooine shot or a Cantina shot, they'll be great to have in there.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I went, I'm going to get these. I'm going to wait for a sale though. Black Friday rolled around. I think I got them for $20 each, which is Canadian, normally 36, so almost half off. Went perfect. Yeah. I'll do it. So that's me. Like I'm straight up planning for that. Like I kind of have some stuff in mind. There was an Iron Man figure I wanted to get. Marvel Legends again went on sale Black Friday. Bought it. But where I do become the sucker is, like I said, the later class grind or something that wasn't even on my radar. I just went, well, I'm getting these. If I add something else, I'll get free shipping. I'm going to add that on too. And so I'm like this. Black Friday. I think I'm really smart. I'm level-headed. Yeah, I'm planning for this. And then there's the off thing go, well, I want to get that too.
Well, I think that's a smart way to do it. And I mean, you did mention too that like as somebody that does toy photography, like you at some point, like you can't do in a bit like you're not going to buy, let's say, the Avengers. You're not going to like hold out on Iron Man because, if you need the Avengers, you need Iron Man.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of villains that could fill the role, so you could wait on villains or wait on sort of cantina fodder, if you will. And AI says the same thing to add to the figure fodder bin. I've gotten to the point where that bin is full, so I'm not adding to that anymore. What about you, Brick?
Yeah, I heard you last. I think it was the last show where you were saying that's the first thing that gets cut out of the budget, right? And so, speaking of that, hearing sort of Austin's real rational. I've been planning for it. I like to think that I have rules, and I like to be rational. And I think more than a lot of collector friends, I can easily sort of walk away from things and be like, no, I just can't do it. But then I'll find myself, for whatever reason, on a kick on something. Either someone mentions something that, another toy line that I hadn't seen or whatever. So recently, something that came up was, are you familiar with the Astrobots at all? I think that's what they're called by Toy Notch. These like super posable robots.
Okay.
And I don't have a whole lot of robots. Right, but unfortunately, my new modern action figure shelf is this basically like science fantasy. So you can mix anything from sort of like swords and sorcery to laser guns and whatever, right? So it's basically Masters of the Universe, Jack Kirby, whatever. And so unfortunately, that's really broad, right? So on the one hand, you could be like, I only collect Black Series. So it's like, okay, cool. Oh no, I gotta wait for the next thing. Now it's like, well, no, that robot could talk. Oh, that dragon. Wait, what? And so it becomes a dangerous game. And
I only collect science fiction fantasy.
Right,
so
like that.
Narrow. That's a very narrow lane. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and on there you go. Take a look at that. I mean, and then and then you've got these things, right? Where it's like, not only am I looking to buy figures that exist that just look amazing, I'm like, oh, that looks like a cool head. Oh, I could use that body. So again, it's just broad and what is potentially something that I'm buying. So it becomes dangerous. At the end of the day, you're right. It's a space issue. I actually am pretty limited here, little Bay Area house, and most of my Lego stuff here is the action figures actually exist at work. So I've got a couple pieces here or whatever. At a certain point, yeah, I'm gonna have to stop. We've been talking about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, right? Like there are these things that are just going to be coming in, right? And there's other things that I'm interested in. So at the end of the day, I thought I had rules, but I don't. I like to think that I'm rational, but I often get suckered in by like someone posting something really cool that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And then part of me is like, well, I'm just going to try the one because I'm really curious about how this thing works. And then it never stops at one, So it just comes back to like, ultimately it's all this emotional whether it's emotional attachment to something I grew up with, or an aesthetic, or a style, or just the fact for me, it's sort of like I grew up. I was born in '76, so I grew up with like little 5 POA Kenner
Mhm.
figures and GI Joe, and I thought those were just amazing. And then I'm seeing all these things with articulations, sculpt is off the hook. We've got people doing crazy things with customs. So to me, as sort of an artist too, someone who's creative, I just really appreciate these things. And I'm not the best at being super rational. Like I thought I was. I thought I had it. So ultimately, it's going to be just money and space that's going to say no,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
with the Black Friday stuff, to come back to that, I mean, everything that I've said, these folks know all of this, right? They work with consultants, advertising folks, marketing folks. They know all this, or they have people in house. They know that I exist. They know that a cool screenshot of something that I hadn't thought I was gonna, it's just gonna pull me in, right?
Mhm.
And so, and then, we're gonna probably start talking about price. When I hear you say, "Oh yeah, that was a $20 Canadian, which is normally like 30 something," like that's a good amount of money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So absolutely, like if you can do it, save it, wait, that makes sense. But some of these things are like $7, $8, and then it's like, oh yeah, then there's tax, and oh, by the way, we need to ship it to you. You're not allowed to put this in your pile of loot.
Yeah.
You're not really saving a whole lot anymore, and that's when yeah. Luckily, I was able to trigger that part of my brain and say, close window, walk away.
That's a big part of it too, right? Like there's certainly an aspect of when it's an in-store thing, when you're actually in a store and buying something, the price that you're paying is that price.
Hmm.
But a lot of this, like especially for Canadians, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're ordering something, you got to add shipping. If it's coming from the U.S., you got to worry about taxes and duties and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
And so there is a really sort of like it's very alluring when you look at the price, but like you said, like Big Bad Toy Store is a great example for all of their Black Friday stuff. They were not allowing it to be added to pile of loot, whereby most people, especially Canadians, will sort of go the full 90 days and then sort of
Hmm.
ship what's in their pile of loot, to sort of pay the least amount as far as shipping and stuff like that goes. um, because yeah, that $25 plunderling is going to cost me, that's 25 US. So on the
Yeah.
exchange rate there, it's I think our dollar is terrible, so it's like 30% on top of that. Then you add the shipping, then you add the potential of the duty and taxes, and it's like, okay, well, I could have already gotten it, closer to home for the price that I would end up paying for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, but like Austin said, you get a cart going and you got like 2, 3, 4 things in there. The
Yeah.
fifth thing is the easiest one, and they
Hmm.
know that, and that
Yeah.
and that's where it's the slippery slope, right? Um, it's yeah, it's just one of those things. Um, Now, like we've kind of already touched on it, but sort of the last question I'll pose to you, and you guys have both somewhat answered it, but like at the end of the day, for like a Black Friday thing, um, is it price? Is it the item? Is it like where do you kind of make the decision? All like for me, as I said, if I didn't want it before, I probably don't want it now. There's always a few sort of pieces that are somewhere in the middle where like maybe it came out a while ago and I missed it or didn't pre-order it, because at the time I wasn't interested, and then now it goes on sale, and so I'll pick it up. But like I said, that NECA stuff that was the only stuff I ordered, um, and I had sort of been waiting to choose which Ninja Turtles line I was going to get into, and I picked Ultimates. And like I just said, I now have the Toon Turtles, and I ordered the movie Turtles. But in the end, it didn't make any difference
Right.
anyway. I ended up with all three. Um, but what's Austin, you said that you're sort of planning for this. So what is your criteria for you? Because you don't know ahead of time what's going to come up. So what is sort of your criteria for, okay, here's what I'm going to buy on Black Friday, or here's what I'm looking to buy on Black Friday?
So the biggest thing for me is stock levels, availability. Like one of the things I bought was the Transformers Kingdom Rhinox figure. I have a small Beast Wars display, and Rhinox is essential. Like I need Rhinox for display. I can find it everywhere. Canadian retailers, Big Bad Toy Store, in person at Toys R Us. I've seen it everywhere. So that's kind of a sign of, okay, this is a figure that will likely go on sale.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no FOMO there because there's so many everywhere. So I can wait. The moment there's FOMO, and for those who don't know, that's fear of missing out. The moment you're like, if I wait, I won't get this.
Yeah.
Black Friday is not on the mind. And I
Yeah.
might come to regret that later, but I mean, if I really wanted it, I guess. Like, for example, the new Amazing Fantasy Marvel Legends Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Now went on sale on Amazon. I thought that would have been long gone by now.
That's a great figure.
It's a great figure. I figured, yeah, it'll sell out immediately, and that's that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for usually my criteria is and again, same thing with background characters. If they're not like main characters that I don't think are going to sell out right away, and I think stock levels are going to last, as even if I want it now.
Yeah, but it's one day only, Austin. You have to do it now.
But basically, as long as I know if there's a lot available somewhere, that's kind of an indicator that it's going to be on sale somewhere.
Sure.
So I try to wait. Like for example, there's this random Rise of Skywalker figure. I can't remember her name. Zori Bliss or something. And again, I had no intentions of making like a whole photo shoot based around her or anything. I figure she will be another good background Cantina figure. And surely enough, one of the Canadian retailers had it for $7. Great. But again, it wasn't there. At no point was like, oh, I better get this now.
Yeah.
I even thought about it, like $7. Do I really need that? Yeah, I'll just add it on.
And that's $7. Like that's, yeah, you're yeah. What about you, Brick?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, when it comes to things like Black Friday, it's going to come down to price. You know, I mean, if it's a really, like you just said, like, oh, I don't have any Masters of the Universe, but I saw a Battle Cat and it was $5.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing for me. That's probably just going to be like, oh, wow, that's, you know, it's almost on principle. It's so cheap. I must buy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my collecting habits this time around, I say this time around, because, you know, as a kid, we had a healthy collection of things, my brother and I. And that was pretty clear. It was just sort of like, you're doing Star Wars. So if a new Star Wars Kenner thing comes, then that's what you're looking for. And it was real sort of defined and clear. And, you know, as I laid out earlier, my parameters are really broad right now. And I'm having fun. And I think that's what it comes down to. And so when I think about that part of it, and there is this notion of I can get this thing for cheaper, or I could get it, say, now and maybe spend another $8. Like that's the thing where I'm old. Like I've got 2 kids, I've got a job. So even the hunt and the time of hunting and the time I'm spending online looking for these things and following all the Discord to figure out where things are, there's a part of my brain who's like, oh, I think it might be worth my time and energy to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to get that at whatever the price is if I can swing it. And I recognize I'm in a place in my life where I'm able to do that and a lot of people aren't. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's different. So I don't know. It's a real trade-off. But again, if something is really, really just outlandishly cheap, I would be really I'd feel that pressure to want to grab it. Like I said earlier, with the Playmobil Enterprise or whatever. It's like, wow,
right.
You know. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Because at the end of the day, we're living in this time, and again, these companies know it, where things are available at our fingertips, almost sort of at any moment, right? 24/7. And even the things that you missed out on that you really love, there's a secondary market and a ton of different options for you to look for those things. So I think at the end of the day, truly like a Black Friday thing, it's a marketing opportunity to get you on the site and to see these things again, not to be the logical downer. But on the other end of that is that it just doesn't have that same appeal for me.
Yep.
because I am kind of spoiled by the fact that like, oh, when this thing came out, I found a relatively good deal. Even even when something's new, there are people who will kind of undercut each other,
Yeah.
and you'll get a decent deal. So yeah, the part of the lure is sort of, and the power, I think, isn't really working on me in that
Yeah.
way because of just times have changed. Right.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day asking my parents like, hey, can we just swing by this, or can we go to this Gemco or whatever and just see if they have the new figure? And now it's like, okay, now it just, everyone's got it. Who's the cheapest on it? Where am I gonna have to pay for shipping? And it's different. So
yeah, that's a very good point. And I'm very much, I think, in that boat as well, where, like I said, I mean, I'm pre-ordering most things, and if I don't want it at the pre-order, like, I probably don't want it. Like it's, if I don't want it before it's on sale, do I really want it when it goes on sale, or is it more that it's on sale, so I'll buy it, and then it's, and then, there's also sort of the logic of like, okay, well, if I buy this, am I going to be short changing myself for this next thing? So like that, the Mythic Legions or something like that. AI mentioned this, that I grabbed the Boss Fight Studio Salmon Max because they were deeply discounted, even shipped. It was a really good deal. I saw a post pop up for that, and that's a perfect example. I love Salmon Max, and I would love to have those figures in my collection. But at the end of the day, where would I put them? It wouldn't really fit on any shelf. It's sort of just two random figures for a property that, there isn't much else to go with it. So it just depends on collections and stuff like that. But anyway.
One thing I'm trying to apply more to my, like, because last time we were talking about that Strife 5-pack.
Yeah.
And of course, Black Friday just happened. I'm sitting there going like, oh, well, next year's Black Friday, if that's still around, I'll probably get it then.
Or Boxing Day.
And or Boxing Day. Well, I mean, yeah, whatever. Whichever sale day, there's tons. But at the same time, I was thinking like, okay, if it goes on sale, great, I'll get it. But if it's sold out by then, no big deal. I can live without it. And I'm just kind of going, wait, if I can live without it, why even pay a sale price? I don't.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to apply now. Where it's just like, even if it's on sale, if I was okay to not have it before the sale, maybe I don't need it now, even if it is on sale.
And I'll go one step further. You don't need anything that you bought. And neither do I.
And just to maybe nail that a little bit harder, I would just say, hey guys, turn around real quick. If you're like inclined to buy something, right? And we're like, oh my God, and then just maybe like find the one or two things that you haven't touched in a while and just hang out with them. And you'll be like, oh, okay.
Or open that box or that cupboard where like you put your unopened stuff. Everybody got that. You know what I mean? Like that's the other thing, is that like, I don't know a single collector that couldn't like right here, right now go, I have this I could open. You know what I mean? Like everyone has something that they haven't even opened yet.
Yeah, but
and I think again,
sitting around for like 3 weeks now. I'm just like,
exactly.
I'm just going to open it at some point.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, again, the landscape is just so different now because there were things where it was sort of like, when am I ever going to get whatever property, Masters of the Universe again? They haven't done anything. I need to go find those figures. But now it's like we're getting, Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. We're getting everything, like anything you can think of. If you just maybe wait for a little bit, someone's going to make it. And if not, some third party, someone might do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it becomes really tricky if we take that moment to step back and just really think, what are we trying to get? What are we really into? Because the same drives aren't there anymore. Like I said before, it was like, I'm never going to get this thing. They just came out with it. I must have it. Now it's like they're struggling to figure out what hasn't been done. Right? It's kind of like, oh, they've got all their toy lines. What are we going to do next? Notorious B.I.G. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I know these guys have band t-shirts. What t-shirts do they have? Great. Let's make figures of those. And you're just like, okay. So yeah, sometimes I do gotta that voice. I try to hear that voice, and I don't know.
There,
It's just a different.
somebody asked me this a couple weeks ago, and so I've been thinking about it kind of almost constantly. But like, somebody asked me, is there a particular line that really tempts you? And my answer was, there's tons of things that tempt me, but in a realistic way, no. I have a hard enough time keeping up with the lines that I do collect. Um, to like, yeah, there's lots of great stuff out there, but you can't have everything. You have to, and not even, I don't even mean like, you know, the like rules of what you collect or something like that, right? But like Motu is a perfect one. Like, I was not a big Motu fan as a kid. I had a few just because, you know, as an 80s kid, everybody had a few. Um, but I honestly can't remember, apart from like 3 or 4 figures, like which ones I even had. And so now it's like, because I, you know, watch the Geek Dad Lives and the Retro Jays, I'm like, maybe I do like Motu. Maybe, like, and then Battle Cat comes up and I'm like, I buy this, and then it's like, well, maybe I do need some of these Origins figures. And then it's like, well, maybe I need Masterverse figures. And then it's like, man, those Mondo figures look really nice.
Yeah, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
Well, that's the thing. There's tons of stuff out there, and you know, my good collector friend Eddie says all the time, this is a golden age of collecting action figures and toys. And it's sort of like, if you can think of it, somebody else that is in a position of like manufacture and design has probably thought of it too. So just wait. You know, there's the other thing too is there's no rush. Like, that's you know, I do some of the SH Figure Arts Dragon Ball stuff, and there's some figures that on the aftermarket they're going for like $200 to $300, and I see them get posted in groups, and I see people buy them up. Mythic Legions is another great example, right? Like, there's figures that get posted, and people go like, oh, you know, I need a Gideon. It's $300, and somebody's like, that's a great deal, I'll take it. And I'm like, is it worth $300? Like, it's not to me, and it's like price versus value, right? Like, the value isn't there for me. And then they go, hey, Four Horsemen goes, hey, by the way, we're going to release Gideon Heaven's Brand version 2, and he is a vast improvement over version 1. And I'm like, yes. You know, if you're patient, you'll probably get a cool version or a substitute or whatever. I think it's kind of one of those things where, you know, you've got Brick, you know, you've got a bunch of X-Wings on the wall. I've got a bunch of X-Wings sort of off screen, the Lego X-Wings. And, you know, we say like every year, every couple of years, they come up with a new one. And it's sort of like, do you need the new one? Is it vastly improved over the old one? Lego especially, it's sort of like, well, can I just take this old one apart, add 7 bricks, and rebuild the new one? Do I need to buy it, the whole set? You can't do that with every line, but it's a unique example in that way. But I mean, I kind of stopped buying Lego for that reason. I was like, I don't even know how many bricks I have at this point. It got to the point where like I stopped buying sets, and I just started looking at the like PDF instruction files and just building the sets that I thought I would want to buy, and being like, I have all these parts. There's a mini figure that I don't have, and so I would be buying, you know, a $50-$100 set for a minifigure, and then I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because it's a Luke Skywalker minifigure, and I have 37 Luke Skywalker minifigures because there's one in every set every year, and it's just that sort of repetitive cycle of things. And that's Black Friday to me is just that, right? Like, they're like, okay, well, you didn't want it for $30, but I bet you'll want it for $20. And it's sort of like, you know, maybe I shouldn't. And that's sort of ultimately where I've gotten to. But like I said, as somebody that's not a Motu collector, I'm sort of the same way with a lot of this Black Friday stuff. I like seeing what people are buying. I like seeing what people are sort of getting worked up about. The example of NECA, right? It's all part of it. It's part of the experience of collecting, you know, like getting excited about what other people are excited about, and sort of partaking in the fun and the joy that is toy collecting. So, you know, I guess on that, you know, on some level, I guess Black Friday is great, even if you're not buying anything, if you're not participating, you can still participate as sort of a member of the collector community. which is always fun. And like you've said a couple times, Brick, and I say this as often as I can too. Sometimes just knowing that stuff is out there is enough. And if you can't afford it, or it doesn't really work for your space, or work for your budget or whatever, it's just cool to know that stuff's out there. I always think inbox collectors are super weird, because it's like, couldn't you just get a picture of it? You'd know that it exists. I don't know why you need to have it in your collection if it's just going to sit in a box. But yeah, that's so we're at about an hour. That's usually what we shoot for. We're a few minutes over. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add? Austin, I'll ask you first.
No, not really. Just the usual Average Guy Collects on Instagram.com if you want to follow me.
Absolutely. Link down below.
And beyond that, I mean, Black Friday is fun when you plan for it. It's super stressful and you're full of regret after otherwise, which I kind of am.
You're on both ends of that spectrum.
I am. I planned and the plan derailed.
Brick, any last thoughts, last comments?
Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately it's kind of come up. Toys should be fun. Yes. Collecting should be enjoyable. And I think if you find the joy in sort of looking for those deals, which I totally get, have at it, 100%. But I, kind of alluded to it earlier, and when you were talking about Lego, something clicked. When I'm still doing Lego, but we've kind of got a moratorium because we've got to figure out where we're going to store this stuff. And my kids, like, not a Minecraft person, but they started getting into Minecraft. All of a sudden, Minecraft sets everywhere. So I'll just say that with Lego, though, you buy the thing, right? And you open it up, and there is almost like a guaranteed at least 1 hour, depending on the set, or more, where you're spending building the thing.
Yes.
And then, like, I watch my kids, they're sitting on the floor playing with these things all the time. And I think that's the real tricky thing with action figures for me, is that, and partially why I created this channel, was to create another purpose for these things for me to be able to spend time with them. Because otherwise, what ends up happening is they're pretty easy to open and enjoy. And at this day and age, I'm not playing the way I used to.
Yeah.
I'll pose them, I'll look at them, and I'll put them on a shelf, and then I'll move on to the next thing before I know what the shelf is full. So if there's a way for us to remember, like, ultimately these things are fun. So like like Austin setting up, I have a plan for a photo shoot. Like, that's dope. You're creating something with these things, you're getting time with these things, and then you're putting it out for the rest of us to be able to enjoy. And again, that's part of my motivation for, being able to post some stuff up on Instagram or post some videos of just this is what I'm thinking about toys, and also to document it. Because I'll say I had a lot of fun with these things as a kid, and some of them are still in storage with my brother, but there are a lot of things that we come up in conversations like, oh, remember we had this thing, and we just wax philosophical about how great it was. And that in itself is beautiful. But then we get to this point, it's like, man, I wish I had pictures of it. And yes, we have the internet now. But part of my reason for doing this is like, I want to document it. Like, I would love to be able to go back, because I know at some point I'm not going to have these things. At some point they're going to move on elsewhere or whatever. Yeah. But I'll still be able to go back and like, oh yeah, I had that figure. Oh yeah, I made that image of that photo, and I remember it. Moving on, because there's only so much we can get, right? And you're there. Anyway, keep it fun, keep it enjoyable. I know people get really frustrated and then angry, and sometimes I gotta, like, close the browser or whatever. Because at the end of the day, I'll be honest, after everything that's been happening in the world, and I started collecting when we were all stuck at home, and so there is admittedly a part of this habit that is to create some fun and joy, like within some intention. So anyway, keep it light, keep it fun. And if you're curious about my documentation, that stuff is on Instagram, where I finally realized I could change my name to something that actually matches Brick something. So it's at brick.something, and then the YouTube channel that I'm slowly trying to figure out. So
Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say thank you for having me on,
Absolutely.
because I, did mention that. And I will say one other thing. Sorry, this is to rehash. I just want to get this out because we've talked about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. We're talking about Mythic Legions. The other piece of this, and this is not me dissing like the big lines and the big companies, but what's amazed me to come back into kind of this modern day is to see all these smaller companies creating things from scratch
Yeah.
that are just as captivating, and if not, often like quality even beyond what these companies are doing that have the licenses for these IPs, right? These big
Yeah.
IPs that I remember.
Yeah.
Like Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, did a whole video about it because I was just floored by this notion of like, yeah, these animal characters, that there's an archetype there that I grew up with. Yeah, why wouldn't someone come and do this brand new thing with this amazing articulation and cool designs, right? Totally in the sword and sorcery thing. Here comes Mythic Legions. Totally love the random sci-fi thing. What's that? Cosmic Legions, you say? And just being able to sort of like, that's where I also struggle a little bit, because the sort of punk rock side of me is kind of like, oh man, we created a scene, we're supporting these indie bands because we're doing it ourselves. So part of me is also like doing that now with some of these things, like, I gotta support that. That's dope. I want to see more of that. But then, I gotta find that moment where, am I actually playing with these things? Am I looking at these things enough? It's that balance. So I'll close it there.
Absolutely. Links down below for both Auston and Brick Something. So check those guys out. Go follow them, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff. If you like this video, please like it. Please subscribe if you want to see more. Hit that notification. We normally do Sundays at 2 p.m. as we did today, but we do some other stuff during the week. And by we, I mean me and then other people. But and just to echo, what you said, Brick and Auston, you and I are very much in sync in a lot of these things too. Like, do it because it's fun, and if it's not, change the line. Maybe that's the thing, right? And Brick, you've mentioned Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Thank you for doing that, because I always do that, and I feel like I'm just banging people over the head with it. I am absolutely in love with that line, and I've not had anything in hand. I haven't even had the comic book in hand, but I've read the first 2 issues, and the 3rd issue is coming out. They're doing the tabletop game. So you mentioned like playing with our action figures. Like, that's an aspect of what they're doing that I talked to Jeremy from Authority Figure, who's doing sort of the design for the game all the time. And I've said to those guys, like, that is a stroke of genius, because there's so many of us that open the package, find a pose, put it on the shelf, and there it stays. Like, the detolf to me is dangerous, because once you put it behind glass, it might not come back out. All my shelves are exposed, so that I at least have to move them every once in a while to dust. And even if I just do that, I'll repose them and stuff like that. But Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is going to be a fantastic line. If you haven't ordered that, I would strongly recommend going out and maybe just ordering one of those figures. Again, speaking to the idea of like supporting the indie guys. And if it's not Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, pick your thing. Marauders are doing some cool stuff. Boss Fight Studios doing cool stuff. If you're into, we've mentioned GI Joe stuff. I know that we're all sort of a little bit into GI Joe either now or then. But there's a bunch of O-ring lines coming out with like Operation Recall, Call Sign Longbow, Delta 17. Like, there's just so much cool stuff out there. So, if you're getting really down on, the sort of corporate way that things get done, there's an alternative. Toys can be fun. You just have to figure out how they're fun for you. So yeah, I think that's a great. I feel like that was my rally cry for having fun with toys. I will mention this too, because I think it's kind of gotten lost a little bit in the tabletop game for Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Is that Authority Figure and Jeremy is doing a tabletop game where you can use whatever 6-inch scale figures. So that'll be coming out a little bit later. So you don't have to get into Animal Warriors of the Kingdom to have a reason to play with your toys, but more on that when he's willing to share with the public. I know some details. I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And like I said, it's just a great way to sort of engage with your toys, because we've got them. I mean, we all have shelves like these, right? So But yeah, thank you guys very much. Brick, definitely going to have you on again. It's been a pleasure chatting. Austin, always fun, always good to chat with you. I'm still a bit shocked you didn't get Storm figures to show, but you did order Storm figures, so I guess that counts. It's like show and tell adjacent, I guess, in some respects. So just quickly checking in. Unfortunately, he was a little bit late to the party, but collect what makes you happy. Toys are fun. If it's stressing you out, gotta move on. Absolutely. And like I said, smack that like, folks. And like I said, if there's a line that's bringing you down, maybe it's that line. Maybe it's not toys in general. Maybe just change your perspective, change the outlook, and see if that works. If not, I feel really bad for you, because toys should be fun, and they can be fun. But on that note, thank you guys once again. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you everybody in the chat. Thank you anybody that's watching on replay, and we will talk to you again very, very soon. Thanks. Bye.